Hi, One Best BR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are talking right now with a professional MMA odds maker, Nick Kalikas. His website is MMAoddsbreaker.com. You can find everything you could possibly want to know about MMA previews, MMA breakdowns, and MMA odds on that site. And right now, he's going to discuss with us Ryan Bader and Anthony Johnson on UFC on Fox 18. A very interesting fight here. Nick Kalikas, this is one of these tough fights where like the favorite is a big favorite, clearly should be a favorite, and clearly should be a big favorite. The question is just, is he being made a little bit too much of a favorite by the market odds? Right now, Johnson, I'm seeing at 5 times minus 350. Bader on the other side is plus 290. And that's down a little bit from what I saw yesterday. I saw Bader at plus 310 the other day, and I was just scratching my head a little bit, just wondering if that was maybe a little bit too high. Obviously, this is being billed as a title eliminator. They say that the winner of this fight gets a title shot, although that's not set in stone. Of course, Bader is a wrestler who tends to get decisions. Johnson has flashy knockout power. I don't know. Obviously Johnson should be a big favorite here at minus 350. Is that a little bit too high? Where'd you open this line, and where has the public been betting it?
I actually opened this line exactly at minus 350.
Okay.
So, line margins have tightened up since. Limits have been increased as well. So there is more action coming in, and there is two-way action coming in on this fight. There's a lot of people throwing Anthony Johnson in parlays right now. A lot of straight bets have been made as well. But then, as you said, the dog value on Ryan Bader, a lot of people are taking a stab at that as well. So the sportsbooks right now are sitting in a good spot. It is a very interesting, intriguing matchup, no doubt. I mean, the way these guys match up. Typically, Anthony Johnson, when he has had problems in the past, now he's gotten better, but it has been against wrestlers that can take him down, control him, especially as his cardio goes and he fades a little bit, and are able to submit him. And that's kind of what he's getting with Ryan Bader here. But typically for Ryan Bader, I mean, the kryptonite has been a guy that can stuff takedowns and possibly knock him out on the feet. And that's exactly what you have with Anthony Johnson. The guy's a beast on the feet. He's got tremendous amount of knockout power, and he can stuff takedowns. So that's what makes this fight definitely challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big question with Bader is his resume, right? People say that he hasn't really beaten anyone that gives them confidence that he can be reliable to get a win here. But it's just such a high line, right? Plus 290. Have you seen any sharp action at all from any sharps betting Bader as a big underdog?
There has been some sharp action both sides right now. I mean, but it's smaller sharp action, not the heavy sharp action that you're possibly going to see on the day of the fight. So that's going to be the interesting spot. But yeah, there's going to be some split opinions again on this fight because of the price, honestly.
Right.
Because it probably is a tad high at this point. So, I mean, it's a dog or pass situation because it's tough. I mean, even though Anthony Johnson has looked tremendous, I mean, in his last fight again against Cormier, he did tend to struggle a little bit as the fight went, and obviously he started gassing out because of the way the fight played out a little bit, and he got finished. So, but before that, though, you got to give him credit because he had Cormier in all sorts of trouble. And, I mean, not many people could take the shots that Cormier took from Anthony Johnson. And Bader, I mean, given his past, he certainly cannot.
Right.
So that is going to be the intriguing fact. I mean, he was close to winning that title, Anthony Johnson was. And then, of course, his win over Gustafsson, what can you say about that? I mean, he's beaten top-tier guys before as well. Ryan Bader, I think his resume is actually pretty solid across the board. It just, fighting the top 2-3 guys and getting a win over one of those guys, he hasn't done quite yet.
But the public is clearly favoring Johnson here, or no?
Yeah, overall, I mean, there's a little bit more action, and again, with parlays especially coming in Johnson's way, but it's pretty even as far as the amount of money, on both sides right now at the sportsbook. So, and I think it'll probably stay that way. I mean, again, we'll probably see a drastic shift on fight day when the heavy sharp action comes in one way or another. We could see this line climb to 4-1, or we could see it drop to closer to 3-1 or under 3-1 as well. So that's probably going to determine which way to go with this fight. It is definitely tricky. I mean, for me, I think if you could trust Anthony Johnson, his cardio has gotten better. But again, in a strenuous fight, in a tough fight that guy's going to be looking to take you down, you're going to have to sprawl and brawl quite a bit. I mean, that tends to wear you out a little bit more. So if Bader can survive the early storm, I think he does realistically have a shot at getting him down and taking his back and possibly subbing him.
Yeah, all right. And then that brings me to the total because I'm thinking, look, obviously Johnson can get a one-punch knockout at any time. Bader can sub a guy at any time. But right now we're seeing the 1.5 is the total, and the over is just minus 135. These guys could also come in here and both be very cautious, and it could turn into a snoozer, which wouldn't be good for either of them, including the winner. But the over might be a great bet at just 1.5 rounds at minus 135. And this is not one of those fights where I'd be too scared to take an over, because you can just feel like one fighter is definitely going to go down relatively quickly. I could easily see this one going over 1.5 rounds.
Well, the problem with that is, I mean, if Anthony Johnson wins, it's probably going to be within the first 7.5 minutes. I mean, he's probably going to end up at least flurrying or counter striking or just getting after it early and putting together a combination that might end the night for Ryan Bader quick. So that's the dangerous thing. I mean, Ryan Bader's chin has been suspect in the past, and when you're dealing with this amount of power, I think in a 7.5 minute span, is Anthony Johnson not going to have his chance to possibly end the fight? I think he probably will. That's what makes it a little bit tough. Now, again, if Bader can survive, I would think that, again, I think the sharper side is probably going to be the over 1.5, because most people are thinking it's going to end early and Johnson by KO.
So you're saying that if you think it's going to go over 1.5 rounds, then maybe the better bet there would just to be take Bader, because then his advantage has become much bigger in the later rounds?
I do think so. I mean, I think if Bader can't survive round one, then obviously he's going to have a better opportunity. He's going to have a little bit more confidence in the fight. And I think, as far as cardio goes, he's got the better cardio as well. So as it drags out a little bit more, he's going to have his chances. So if it goes past round one, even in a live betting situation possibly, you might want to think about Ryan Bader as it goes.
All right. Well, Nick Kalikas, if I had to make a bet on this one, and I probably will not, although maybe I will, but if I had to make a bet on it, I would take a shot at the over 1.5 rounds at just minus 135. If the line crept up, I'd probably back off. But at minus 135, I think I would take a shot at over 1.5 rounds. If you had to make a bet on this one, Nick Kalikas, what would you do?
Out of all the stuff that's out right now as far as props go, or round totals and all that stuff that you said, it's probably going to be maybe an Anthony Johnson by KO, TKO prop, or the 1.5 rounds over. I think that's probably the way to go. Again, you're not laying much juice, minus 135, as you said, but you do have to keep an eye on it. If it does float up a little bit, you got to stay away from that as well. So those would probably be my two options. I know I kind of added one there for you, but I think if Johnson wins, he's going to win by KO.
All right. Nick Kalikas' website, again, is MMAoddsbreaker.com. Nick Kalikas, thanks so much, as always, for all your insights into this.